name's Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with Ivy Organics, where we grow cool plants. And today I'm here in front of a Eureka lemon tree. And the Eureka lemon tree is a type of lemon that has been propagated via cuttings and grafting, and they're genetically identical plants to the original Eureka lemon tree that was discovered in 1858 right here in Los Angeles, California. This lemon tree is known for being one of the most vigorous of the lemon varieties, one of the most popular that you'll find here in the United States of America nurseries. And this one here behind me is of the standard variety, meaning that the plant will grow to somewhere between 15 and 25 feet tall. You have the option of selecting these trees as a semi-dwarf, which will be a much more manageable tree, to a dwarf, which will grow anywhere from about 3 to 5 feet. The point that I want to draw to you is we just pruned the Meyer lemon tree, and we saw that how bushy and compact and how crisscrossing those branches were within the structure of the tree. Contrary to the Meyer lemon tree, the Eureka lemon tree has a very upright growth, and as you can see here, it's got a lot of branches and they're all pointing in the upward direction. Very few are crossing, but there's still some managing that is required in order to get these plants to produce the maximum amount of fruit. The first point is, check out the number of branches that we have in here. If we take a look over here, you'll see that it's got this branch, and this branch, and this main branch, and another main branch. And what you have to do as the grower and the caregiver for this tree is select which ones are gonna get to stay, which ones can we bend. Maybe they don't necessarily need to be pruned, but maybe you can just bend them out of the way so that you can foresee that in the future these branches won't grow, as each one of these branches will grow to 5 inches in diameter, 8 inches in diameter, and even more. If so, these branches are all going to be in the same area. There are too many branches in such a small area of space. So what we're going to do is try to pull them apart and open and broaden the canopy and ultimately shade the lower part of the tree, as citrus are especially prone to sunburn. And as you can see under here, we've actually coated this plant and the tree trunk with the Ivy Organics 3-in-1 paint color brown. And as you can see here, I'll read the label for you. It says Ivy Organics. It's a 3-in-1 plant guard where you just add water to this particular product. Protection against damaging sunburn and insects and rodents for use on your roses, fruit, nut trees, ornamental trees, and shrubs. It's a non-toxic, environmentally safe, and organic product. And here on the lid it says protects newly installed plants and trees, shields pruned and damaged surfaces. And today we're going to be doing some prunes, and we're going to actually coat it with this product as well. We now have our Ivy Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard Spray on tree trunk, branches, and leaves product. This is ready to go. You just shake it and spray it. And if you come in a little closer, you can actually see that some of these leaves are still coated with it when we protected it from our last summer heat wave. You can see that it's covered with the Sunblock Spray. And this helps keep the plant cool and avoid any leaf burn. But the tree trunk is also coated with the product to also protect it from sunburn, which is the primary reason to protect it. And again, also with the graft, as you can see here with the wound, I'm going to come in a little closer. You can see that this would be a perfect entryway for pathogens, bacteria, viruses, as well as wood-boring insects to enter that graft union. So we're going to replenish that with more Ivy Organics and seal those possible entryways from insects as well. I'm going to give you a quick show up to a property I went to in North Hollywood, where the owner of an orange tree pruned a branch, allowing too much sunlight to come into the tree in the middle of summer. And take a look at the damage that did to her tree. Check this out. And let me show you why. Take a look underneath what happened here. And right here was the branch that was pruned, and you can see how large it was. It was at least 20, possibly 30 years old. Right here, and this went up and out in the direction of the swimming pool, and that was probably the reason it was pruned. And then take a look at what happened underneath. Look at the bark, how it's peeling. All of this is dead skin. If this was your body, this would be your skin coming off, and it goes all the way down, all the way down, all of that damage. Take a look at those cracks. These are 3rd-degree burns on a plant, and I don't know if anyone has ever described this as 3rd-degree burns, but this is a 3rd-degree plant burn. The epidermis, the dermis, and it's damaged all the way to where the wood is. So this is now a perfect entryway for termites and wood-boring beetles to get into the tree and start hollowing out the center of the plant. The other thing I want to point out here is the sun, and it'll be out here in about the next hour, is shining on this side of the plant. If you were to go around back, I don't know if you can work your way around with the camera, you'll notice that this entire back side of the plant is not damaged. And this is the side that's actually now bringing the sugars and the juices and all the life-giving support is coming from the back side, the shaded part of the plant. And what we're gonna do here today is actually coat and protect this part of the plant, and actually for cosmetic, we'll actually even paint the backside as well so it all looks uniform. But we're gonna cover this with a product called Ivory Organics. The dissolved, I wanna show you one other orange tree that's to my left here. So here we are under another orange tree, and this here is a very successful orange tree as indicated by it's got an amazing canopy. It's loaded with fruit and a lot of young fruit as well. And there's probably several hundred fruit up above my head. And what impresses me so much about this plant is you can actually see the tree trunk here is actually in excellent condition. And again, that's only because it's in the shade. You want to make sure you grow your trees where they are actually shading and protecting the branches and the tree trunk. And you'll notice over here on this branch that I'm touching that there's actually damage over here. And even though we're in the shade of the tree, there was a time, once upon a time, that there was, and you can see there's like a little bit of light here in this part right now, but there must have been a hole in the canopy that allowed too much light to hit this branch, and the branch actually cracked. So if you're in your garden, take a look at these signs, and before it gets this severe, this will actually take probably a decade to heal. So if you actually caught these issues, and if you take a look a little lower, I'll find another thing that's less severe. You'll actually see over here there's like some cracking in the bark. Over here it looks like there's a wound with some sap that's coming out of it, but this is a wound that later on we're actually going to open it up to remove all the dead wood, and you can see it's already starting to callus right around there. And so rather than keeping this dead wood, which would be again food for the termites and the beetles and wood destroying organisms that might start here and then work their way into this wood and then work their way into the heart of the tree, we're going to remove that, and then we're just going to brush some Ivory Organics over this wound as well, so that we basically repel any insects from getting into the heart of the tree. So the tree is just getting covered with blossoms and little fruit. Check these fruit out over here. But one thing we're gonna do as well is, you may notice this lemon over here in the back. Let's get that out of the way. What a beautiful fruit. This here is a Eureka lemon, 150-year-old tree. And something to consider, and I get a lot of questions from you viewers, is can I take the seeds out of this lemon and plant it and create another Eureka lemon tree? And the answer is no. If you plant the seeds of this Eureka lemon, you're actually creating your own variety of lemon, as the seeds in here are the children. Hopefully they're related to this tree, but they could have just as easily cross-pollinated with other lemons within your community. Grapefruits, oranges, you may end up with something totally different. You may end up with something completely superior. So when you're planting a seed, you're taking your chances, and also when it comes to maturity, it can take anywhere from 5 years to 10 years or more before that wood and that tree gets mature enough to support fruit. Unlike if you were to take a cutting or graft this tree, you're talking about within 1 to 2 years, you're gonna be able to enjoy some fruit. So those are the benefits of cloning the plant rather than starting off with a seed. One other thing I want to point out too is we're now in the first week of February, and this is a wonderful time to be doing your pruning throughout your entire garden. Most of your trees would benefit from being pruned now rather than during the winter, because our chance of frost is now past. Here in Los Angeles, in our particular growing zone, our chance of frost is past during the last week of January. So here we are, and I usually visit my garden the first couple of weeks of February and start pruning everything down just before the blossoms begin to come out, before the new leaves and shoots come out of the plant, and for my evergreens before they go and put out the maximum number of blossoms. Even though there's some flowers in here, let me give you a tour of this plant. We're still going to be pruning. As you can see here, we've got some fruit. We've got some smaller fruit over here. So these will ripen most likely during the summer. And then you can see there's a whole bunch of tiny blossoms in there as well. Can you see those? Check out this part of the tree. You can see a little fruit over here. And this will be ripening within the next few weeks. And another. So not bad for a first-year lemon tree. So the goal here, and we did a video on this about 6 months ago, and you may notice that there's some stakes here behind me. 1, 2, and a third And we even use the fence that's behind me as well to help pull those branches down. And as you can see, we pulled this branch down and it has since grown to the side, and this is what we want to do. Usually any branches that are pointing downwards are removed, and I want all the branches to be either growing vertically or to the side but not pointing down. So this here you can see is growing to the side, but again these two branches are too close, so what we're going to do is, and now that we did this about 6 months ago, this branch is now in place. We can remove the tie and you can see that it hasn't moved. So we're going to pull that out like so, and now we're going to reposition the stake for the next branch. And what we'll do here is we'll just simply take our tie, and you're going to want to tie it to the stake. You never tie the knot against the tree. You'll always do it against the stake. And the reason is you don't want to constrict the growth and the flow of the sugars and the waters in the tree trunk by constricting it with a knot like so. And now we're just going to go up here and pull the branch down like so. So now this branch is growing in this zone over here. It's probably better if you stand over on this side so you can capture that. So you can see now that this branch is growing in this zone. I'm now going to take this branch and pull it back this way and pull it away from the center. So that's going to be the next project. And I'm going to continue that pattern all the way around the tree. So let me just spend a few minutes wrapping this up and I'll show you the results. So I want you to back up now and take a look at what I've done to the structure. You'll see that I've so far just bent the branches down. I haven't pruned anything yet. So take a look at what we did. We simply installed this stake and pulled this branch down. We installed this stake and pulled this branch down. And we continued that pattern all the way around. We pulled this branch back and we pulled that fourth branch back. And now we just simply have this one branch here in the center. And then we've got all of these branches that are now coming to the side. And the only reason they're coming to the side is because we pulled them down and we encouraged this side growth to happen. Let me show you a couple of prunes that we're now going to make. The goal now, when pruning your trees, you may notice that some people would take some rubbing alcohol first and they'll put on a cloth like so and wipe their pruners before pruning. This is an important practice if you know that you've got diseases between your trees. Generally, if you're going to be cleaning up the tree, you also need to be, I mean, if we're truly doing surgery here, you need to be cleaning also the plant tissues as well. And I've never seen any grower go that far. But the goal again is to prevent the transmission of disease between plants, and that's the reason for cleaning your pruning instruments. But what I want to point out to you over here, if we come in a little closer, is that this branch here is right underneath this branch that we pulled down. It wasn't an issue before, but this branch is exactly in the shade of the upper branch, and so we're going to have to prune that out. And let's get a little closer so you can see what this looks like. You able to come in close enough? So if you can see over here from this end, there's a total of 1, 2, and 3 branches. We're going to remove this upper third branch. We're going to prune as close as we can to the tree trunk. And what's going to happen now, if you can come in a little closer, is you can see that this here is exposed wood tissue. This is the supporting structure for the tree. And then the green circle that's around it is the bark, and right underneath the bark is the cambium tissues, which are just a few cells thick, and that's what transports the waters and the sugars up. But what we're going to need to do is now coat this with the Ivory Organics to prevent any disease, bacteria, viruses, and especially wood-boring insects from entering the central wood and possibly hollowing out the center of the plant. So we're gonna coat that as well. Let's continue. The other branches we're gonna remove are these down here. Even though they're green and they're starting to support some blossoms, if you come in a little closer, you can take a look at that as well. You can see that there's a little flower over here, and there's some more little purple flowers coming out over here. But we're gonna remove these because this is in the shadow of the tree, and this in the long term will not be a good supporting structure. So we're gonna prune that like so, and this like that. And we want to encourage, again, the tree to continue growing. Keep in mind again, the goal is we're gonna have a 15 to 25 foot tall tree here. If the goal was to keep it as a compact tree, I would have removed more off the height and encourage more of the lower growth to happen. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna seal all of these pruned surfaces. Check this out. So we have a couple options now. We can paint it using a brush, or we can spray it. And this here is supposed to make it a lot easier to just shake the bottle. And you can actually spray the leaves, the branches, and the tree trunk, like so. This now will keep the entire lower canopy cool and shaded and avoid the risk of the bark getting sunburnt, which results in those cracks and cell death to the side of the tree that's most sunny. What we're also gonna do, and since I've already got the product here in my garage, is I've got the Ivory Organics 3-in-1 Tree Guard Paint Color White, and we're just going to stir that. And if you take a look over here, our white label is now registered material for use in organic agriculture as well. So we're very proud about that as well. And we're gonna take our brush here and just coat those pruned surfaces like so. Check this out. And the other thing that we mentioned earlier was that graft spot. So if you can come around here. So you can see that this here is the rootstock. This is what's controlling the height of the tree. This is what's giving the plant the vigor and making it a standard sized tree, as well as drought resistance and disease resistance and whatever else the rootstock is offering. And then the top part over here, this is the line, is the Eureka lemon. And you can graft anything on top of the rootstock. It could have been a grapefruit, a lemon, a lime, an orange, or any other type of citrus. We just want to make sure that that area is sealed. So again, nothing can enter that particular zone. I'm gonna come back and revisit this one being that it's coated in the Ivory Organics color brown. I'm gonna wanna keep the pattern the same. So I'll be doing that a little bit later. Let me show you one more thing, follow me. So while we're on the topic of Eureka lemons, I just had to share this tree. Check this out, look at all of these fruit. And over here. And above me, all these little ones. And some more. Such a great tree. Let's get on the other side. So here we are on the other side of that Eureka lemon tree. Check out again all of these fruit. Let me bring you a little closer so you can see the small fruit as well as the flowers. Check this out. Over here are some blossoms. And here's our next fruit set. Look at all of that. So even though there's about a dozen fruit right here in this little cluster, don't be disappointed when most of those fall off and leave you with just one. Or, if you're lucky, two. And as we can see here, when they get ripe, I've got three. The point I want to share with you with this Eureka lemon is each of the individual branches are growing as if they're all each individual separate plants. Let me make the point, and let me show you over here. With this particular branch, you can see that it's growing in this zone. And this is one branch, and I've staked it to grow independently, and it's supporting its own fruit. Kind of like your tomato vine. I don't know if you've ever heard about tomatoes growing on one vine, two vines, or three vines, and they're grown as single stem, double stem, and triple stem tomatoes. We're doing the same thing here with our Eureka lemons. We're making sure each branch has its own amount of sunlight. The sun rises to my left and sets on my right, and this plant is exposed to sun all day long. So I've got this branch that's got plenty of sunshine and thereby supporting plenty of fruit. I've got this branch over here, as you can see, growing in this zone. And then we've got this branch over here, growing in this zone. And then the same pattern is happening all around the tree. The point is that each of these branches are basically getting as much sunlight. None of the branches are crossing one another. We're not dealing with a plant, unlike the Meyer lemon, that is a very compact and bushy growing tree. This is more vertical and more upright in growth. Well, I hope you found this video informative, and if so, be sure to like it. And most importantly, by subscribing below, you'll be connected to all the other educational gardening videos by Ivy Organics. Thanks again for watching, and happy gardening.